those how much do you need in retirement questions are very open to debate. You know, I get very angry with people who say you need $1 million. If you look at the people who are saying that, they're often people who make who are going to make money out of you saving. They're perhaps KiwiSaver or other providers, or they're financial advisors, or there's somebody who's got an incentive in seeing you sitting down and investing money through them. You don't need $1 million, and in fact you don't need... I had a letter to my Herald column a while back from someone, all she was living on was New Zealand Super. She had her own unit, mortgage-free unit that she lived in, and she said, look, I get free bus rides with my senior citizen ticket thing, I go to the public library, I listen to the radio, I go for walks, I have a great life. And she had quite big health problems too. It wasn't that she didn't. So how much you need, and these people are asking how much do they need, and look, the more the better really, because it does give you more options in retirement. And so if they're thinking, well, let's aim at 300, well, they might want to aim at 500,000, but I wouldn't get too caught up in exactly what dollar amount to aim at. It's because there's so many assumptions. Massey University releases figures on how much you need, and it depends on whether you want, what do they call it? Sort of no frills lifestyle or a choices lifestyle. Yes. And it depends on whether you're in a big city or regional. And those numbers are pretty high. They base them on spending that people do, I think. But I wouldn't get too hung up on them if you're not going to get to that total. I don't think you necessarily are going to have a horrible time in retirement.
I wonder too whether some of those people that say that they need $1 million in retirement are thinking very much of living on the income from it and leaving a big inheritance. Do you think that is?
That's a really good point, Michael. Yeah, and yes, obviously, if you're only living on the returns that you're getting on the money, then you're going to need more to have the same standard of living. But whether you really are obliged to leave that much to your children is open to debate. I mean, look, it depends so much on the children's circumstances and all of that. But everyone now has heard of SKI, skiing, spend the kids' inheritance, and you can certainly do that if you travel a lot, for example. But yeah, I think personally, if you do own your own home mortgage free, for the most part, that's a pretty good inheritance for most families to get the house, and you spend the rest of the money.
I've heard you say before that make the point that families sizes are getting smaller and house prices are getting, going up so much that often you've got a very valuable house that is being divided by
two.
Yeah,
that's right. You leave $1 million house to two kids, $500,000 each. It's a huge inheritance, and in many cases, they don't really need that much money. I mean, look, I think there's definitely an anxiety for a lot of people about that figure, and I've got a question here that I think really illustrates that beautifully. As a single woman, aged 51, I have $230,000 saved for retirement. I have no mortgage, which I've worked hard to repay. She's paying 16%. To UniSaver and getting her 6.75 employer contribution, and she's saying, is this enough to retire on? I've read 500,000 is probably needed. I don't live a flash lifestyle, but I would like to have choices, and I'm aware that medical costs increase with age. Yes, and certainly the medical stuff's true. 16% is very impressive. Well done, that person. A single woman, 51, I think you said.
Yes.
I commonly find that single women in particular can save too much. It must be a basic insecurity, I think. I don't know. It's just I've noticed something that over the years from letters I've got. Now, in a way, you can say, well, you can't save too much. The more, the better. And that's true unless you're actually limiting your lifestyle at the moment. And if you're not having some nice holidays, or if you enjoy eating out, or if you enjoy clothes, or if you enjoy movies or concerts, and you're not doing that, because you're feverishly saving a heck of a lot for retirement. Now that's the one, I think, Michael, where you put her numbers into a calculator, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I put it into the sorted.org calculator. I don't know what the her salary was.
Yes.
I just put in a reasonably modest salary of 70,000 and a real return, which we'll come to in a sec, of 3%. So,
which is pretty modest.
Modest, and put her on track for 600,000.
So she's going to retire, well, very, very roughly, with 600,000.
And that's based on those, pretty modest numbers.
Yes,
so
yes.
I think that's a good illustration of that sort of anxiety that is sort of misplaced.
Yes, and when you get to retirement, you're so used to saving that you're reluctant to spend on yourself. I had a hilarious letter to, have I told you about that, to my column once from this guy who said, I think he had $2 million, but he said, I can't, in retirement, I can't stop myself from buying the cheapest beer, even though I hate it. He said, and I responded something like in the column, for goodness sake, go out and buy the more expensive beer. And he said that his wife likes going out to dinner, and they will go to the RSA sometimes, but he insists they have a drink of wine first at home because it's cheaper. And so he's being a real meanie. And I put his letter in the paper and my reply, which was to just go out and spend more, sort of thing. And his wife was reading the paper and she looked up and she said, look, darling, there's someone else here just like you. so he confessed it was him. But while it's kind of funny, it can get silly where people really are too mean on themselves.
Sure.
Yes, yeah.
I think there's that anxiety for people about outliving their money.
Yes.
Because we don't know how long we're going to live for.
No.
I think I've heard you talk about sort of basically preloading, that you sort of want to do the good things in early retirement while your
health's good. I mean, you see it all the time, people being too frugal in their first few years of retirement and then wanting to travel, and even if they still can, but their knees aren't so good or whatever, quite often the travel insurance is terribly expensive if you've got medical problems, and if you don't declare those medical problems when you're getting the travel insurance policy, and then you have a problem when you're overseas, they won't pay up. And by the way, quite often you might declare some of your medical problems and not others, and you go overseas and something else happens that's nothing to do with the undeclared problems. The insurance company can still refuse to pay out because they'll go to your doctor and get your records once you start claiming. And so it's never a good idea to do that. But getting back to the basic point, which is you spend the money early in retirement, bias it towards that. And I say, I think it's fine to aim to spend all your savings by the time you're 85 or 90, because over and over again I get letters from people saying at that age New Zealand super's enough if you've got a mortgage-free home. If you haven't, then you do need, well, it's ideal to have more, but a lot of them are saying, I just don't go out that much and I just don't spend that much. So you can certainly aim at 85 or 90, spending it by then.
Sure.
And the other thing is, if you then do find you need more money and you've got that mortgage-free home, you can get a reverse mortgage, which works well at that stage in life.
Okay.